So the first section that we'll be going through is not quite the introduction, but it still is still the realm of introducing the stories. There is an ostinato, which is a repeated figure. However, this figure is slightly uneasy. So there are a couple of interjections, there are a couple of things that sort of ungrounded. And so the purpose of this is to basically just introduce the idea of just 3 years and how long that span of time is. And so the role of the clarinet in this section is basically to support the vocal line. Pretty much stays within that supportive role, and there's a bunch of areas where there's contrary motion and on the word hold to basically just have us wrap our minds around that the time that this story holds and the fact that it's still being written, and just have that there. So yeah, we're going to start from measure 41 all the way to 153. Hello? 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 Do I need to, is there anything else? It's on. Hello? Can you, we're turning the microphone on, apparently. Hello? Hello? It's green. I could continue talking. I will continue talking. Okay, amazing. I don't actually hear that, so that's awesome. So that last phrase pretty much is the same content for the next section. And so this next section is a contrasted movement. It is much slower. It has a visual element to it, just with this just like waterfall of emotion. And reading Kelsey's text from the beginning, actually, this section is actually the part that I approached musically first. So a lot of the content in the other parts of the piece were actually developed from this part, just to give you guys an idea of how we don't actually always work chronologically. And so this part, again, contrasting section, and the clarinet's role is basically just, it stays within the middle register, but it travels up and down in that. And so the counterpoint between the clarinet and the voice is pretty much the focus of this part. And yes, and the piano is supportive, and we'll let you guys go from measures 154 to right before the 6/8. Yep.
The tears still run down my cheek, down my cheek, My head still hurts, my mind is I'm glad I'm not alone.
So afterwards, we have this, yet again, another slightly repeated ostinato section, and I basically read Kelsey's text of this phrase, "Why me?" and it just struck me, and it was such a short but painful phrase. And then the initial idea was to have it recurring as sort of little structural pillars throughout the piece, but it actually just required a whole section unto itself. So this is just dwelling, basically elongating one of Kelsey's shortest phrases to a whole section, and there is a lullaby reference, which you may or may not hear. Yeah.
Why me? Why me? Why
Wow, your voice is awesome. Love your voice. Should we just give her a round of applause? Yeah, just also so appreciative of just imagine writing text from the bottom of your heart and just sharing it with us. So I'm just, okay, tangent. This is not planned. So that section and that chord that you just heard sets up the next section. So every single transition completely just organically developed from the previous one, whether it be rhythmically, content-wise, or text-wise. This next part was probably the most intimate and from the caves of Kelsey's heart, and setting this was theoretically, it sounded like the approach would be easy, but it was definitely really, really difficult. The idea of having the phrase, just stay a little longer and you'll learn to be free. This phrase that can be spoken from sounds like something life-giving, right? But then we have just this bitterness that accumulates over time. That we're not even aware of sometimes, and that even if we are aware of it, we don't know what to do about it. And so just the idea of having the same phrase come from two potentially different sources. So you have, bitterness saying, hey, stay here, you can just hide. And then there's the idea of actual freedom. And so this idea just allowed me to also explore just the voices of the different instruments as well. And it also made me question, what on a daily basis can I differentiate between life-giving voices and not life-giving voices? And musically, if you wanted to know, there's just an idea which the same exact musical idea that the clarinet and the piano play in the same range, just slightly different timbres. And I just sort of support the voice in that. And so yeah, that's from 2:11 until the end of that. Thank you. So we're actually skipping a little bit. We're not going to do a rundown of the whole piece. We're just having sections. But this last bit is actually a snippet of the end. And this end is slightly the more romantic feel. So I was attempting to think of Brahms in my head. That's also unplanned. I don't know, I just shared that. It is Kelsey's yearn to wait for the morning and to just stare at the sun that is rising. And so the idea of yes, night is happening and night has happened, but there is always the morning, and just fixing her eyes on beauty. And we think we know the color spectrum, we think we know like all the colors that exist, but she sees colors that she just couldn't even imagine. And so I was just purely working off of the text in terms of musically attempting to set this. So that is, this will be actually our last section before we move into the next part, so.
And soon the sun creeps the sky, bringing the darkness that once overwhelmed. I find myself gazing at the beauty, the colours I could not imagine still appear, and the horizon is one once more
Thank you, ladies.